type of call.
Good evening. We begin tonight with some breaking news. An officer is hurt after a shooting in southeast Denver.
Right now, police are saying that a suspect is also injured. We should note we don't know what this person was suspected of doing, what kind of call this officer was responding to at the time of the incident. 9 News reporter Janelle Finch joins us from where it happened at Parker and Peoria in southeast Denver. Janelle?
Yeah, Kim, Kyle, as you both said, we don't know a whole lot about what happened or what led up to this shooting, but we do know that one officer and a suspect were injured in this shooting. Denver police tell us that we're looking specifically at this Maverick gas station here as the main area of this investigation, although you can see that there are a lot of police here, dozens of Denver PD cars assisted by Aurora PD. Again, we really don't know what happened, but we do know that this investigation does have part of Route 83 closed at this time. We're expecting to potentially hear from Denver Police Chief Ron Thomas, to tell us a little bit more about what happened here and again, what led up to this shooting. But this is all that we know right now. We're hoping to learn some more information and bring you the latest.
Janelle Finch, thank you very much. So we have seen a police presence gather at Denver Health, and that is typical in these situations when you have an injured officer that you have a swarm of law enforcement there at the hospital.
And that's where 9 News reporter Spencer Soisher has been. Spencer, you got there maybe 20 minutes ago or so, and you've seen officers arrive at the scene, other officers.
Right, like you mentioned, that's sort of the thing you would expect if an officer was injured. We don't know specifically where the suspect was taken or where the officer was taken, but it's pretty clear somebody was taken here to Denver Health just based off of the response that we're seeing. Let's show you what it looked like a couple of minutes ago when we got here. If you take a look, you'll see about a dozen or so officers lined up outside the front porch here at Denver Health. We'd say we counted about 20 police cars as well lining the street here at Spear and Bannock. The road on Spear is still open, and it appears to be more of a less active scene here than it was. The last thing that I noticed was a bunch of people carrying out bags into a police car. Not entirely sure what that entails or what the reason is for that, but we don't have a lot of other information we can pass along right now, but we'll give you that as soon as we get it. Live at Spear and Bannock, Spencer Soisher, 9 News.
So Spencer, I mean, we can draw a few inferences from what we know, right? So out there at the scene in southeast Denver, you've got DPD on scene. You also have Aurora police on scene. Have you seen any Aurora police at Denver Health, or is it just DPD that's there?
Not that I've noticed. I think just DPD that's here. Still a lot of officers here. I think it's probably fewer than when we arrived. I don't know if they were maybe going to the scene where the crime may have happened and where Janelle is at, but I haven't noticed any Aurora police officers here, just strictly DPD at this point.
All right, so I mean, based on that, we can draw a couple of inferences that we're likely looking at an injury to a Denver police officer as opposed to an Aurora police officer.
Yes.
And in situations when they believe that the officer's life is in danger.
They're critically.
Then there would be an enormous
response.
massing there at Denver Health, and that's something that we're not seeing tonight. So that is encouraging news for that officer who was involved in the shooting tonight. Spencer Soisher, thank you.
Some late October hail fell in parts of the Front Range today. This picture taken in Castle Rock.
Hours later, we've got some snow in the mountains. Traffic's moving again at the tunnels. It was a standstill for a while earlier. Now I say traffic's moving at the tunnels, and you have eyes. You can look and see that, in fact, it is not moving.
Not at all.
So which are you going to believe, the guy on the TV or your own eyes? It looks like traffic has stopped at the tunnels. Chris Bianchi, that could just mean that Loveland Pass is closed, right? And they're metering the traffic through the tunnels to do the hazmat.
And based on what we saw there, that would be my suspicion, is that they're metering right now and that it's not closed off. In fact, those roads have been mostly wet there at the tunnels within the last hour or so. It does look like they're getting a little secondary burst of snow. Perhaps that's slicking things back up there at the tunnels. But again, that metering, that looks new. And you saw that line was pretty short there as well. Here in Denver, after a busy afternoon, we had some really loud thunder. We had here at the 9 News studios around 5:05 p.m. the loudest thunder I have heard. And I know a lot of you heard it. If you're in downtown Denver, you heard that around 5:05, 5:10 p.m. We had 2 lightning strikes within a quarter mile of the station here just after 5 p.m. Much calmer now. Upper 30s, low 40s around the metro area. Mostly dry, and we're seeing still some leftover rain showers, eastern plains. Still a little leftover snow for us here in the mountains, but it's right there at the tunnels where we're seeing that snow right now, and that snow coming to a close. Kenosha Pass, Fairplay, that drive between Jefferson and Fairplay, a little slick right now there in South Park. Here in Denver, just a few rain showers for us. Highlands Ranch, DTC on east to about Parker. Maybe, if you look outside and you look up into the kind of street lights, maybe a few snowflakes mixing in there. Temperatures upper 30s. Wouldn't be shocked. We're seeing some flakes mixing in there, but no accumulation coming from that, but just maybe for fun, first flakes of the season. Eastern Plains, we're seeing a few showers for us from Lyman on east, and we've seen in some cases out here on the Eastern Plains a half-inch plus of rain. Hey, we'll take it heading into our first hard freeze of the season across most of eastern Colorado. That is going to be helping things on out. 30s, 40s, Eastern Plains, 50s, southeastern part of the state, 20s and 30s in the mountains right now. Freeze warning for tonight and also for tomorrow night as well. Tonight, just the appetizer event in terms of these temperatures. Going to get about 5 degrees colder tomorrow night than what we're seeing here. So a chilly couple of nights ahead. But meantime, this is the big story globally weather-wise is what Category 5 Hurricane Melissa. This is now the 7th strongest Atlantic hurricane ever on record in terms of central pressure, down to 903 millibars. Maximum sustained winds estimated to be about 175 miles an hour. When you're talking about a hurricane this strong, the only thing that's keeping these winds from being any stronger, this is literally as strong as those winds can get because the friction of the atmosphere on the Earth's surface can only keep those winds at that level. Point being, this is as strong as a storm can get. Symmetrical buzzsaw eye as this crawls towards the north. And joining me for a bit more about this storm is Phil Lipoff. And Phil, it's a two-headed monster here. It's not just those winds. It's not just the storm surge coming from those winds. It's also the rain. That thing, it's crawling at 2 to 3 miles an hour, and that could mean 40 inches of rain for parts of Jamaica.
It's really slow when you talk about the eye. You cover enough of these, you see that set up. It is terrifying, and especially for folks on that island. This is a live picture from Jamaica behind me. You can see that the rain is beginning to pick up as darkness sets in there. The island is now bracing for what is, as Chris, you just said, the strongest storm of the year. The rare Category 5 storm has winds of 175 miles per hour. Potential historic damage comes along with that. Melissa's outer bands right now lashing Jamaica with wind and rain. Mandatory evacuation orders have been issued for folks on the coastal areas. The storm is already deadly, we have to tell you, killing 3 people in Haiti and Jamaica each and 1 person in the Dominican Republic. The National Hurricane Center is warning, as Chris mentioned as well, up to 40 inches of rain, 13 feet of storm surge, 165 mile per hour sustained winds will cause, in their words, extensive infrastructure damage and could actually cut off entire communities. Melissa is incredibly slow moving, which will only extend that window of damage. After hitting Jamaica, the storm is forecast to make a second landfall in Cuba late Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning. That would happen potentially as a Category 3 in Cuba. Phil Lipoff, 9 News.
Health insurance premiums for Coloradans who buy their own coverage independent of their employers are set to double next year. Democratic state leaders in charge of the insurance division made that announcement today, just days before the start of open enrollment. The state's Democratic leaders estimate 75,000 Coloradans will not be able to afford health insurance in 2026 because of the expected premium increase. They say it's primarily because of premium tax credits under the Affordable Care Act that are set to expire at the end of the year. Democrats in Congress are withholding their votes on a bill to reopen the federal government, demanding that Republicans extend those credits. Open enrollment begins on Saturday, November 1st. It runs through January 15th.
A 5th grade teacher in Parker and her family have been detained by immigration agents. The principal at her school, Global Village Academy, says the family was taken to an immigration detention center in Texas. The principal notified parents that ICE picked up the teacher Friday while she was at a routine appointment related to her immigration case. The principal says the teacher had authorization to work in the United States through spring of 2029. The principal says the teacher completed an I-9 verification and a CBI background check as required by law. The principal says they're working with the school's legal team and outside immigration attorneys to figure out if they can help bring the teacher and her family back to Colorado. There's no indication at this point from what we currently know that suggests the teacher committed any crime. Despite President Trump's pledge to focus his mass deportations on the worst of the worst criminals, in Colorado and elsewhere, immigration agents have been detaining people, following the rules and showing up for their scheduled immigration appointments.
A man whose murder conviction was overturned because of the CBI's evidence scandal will be tried again.
And new court documents show a possible defense in his case now relies on Colorado's best-known unsolved murder. 9 News reporter Spencer Soisher explains.
Michael Clark will walk back into a courtroom Tuesday, facing a second murder trial. He was convicted in 2012 of the 1994 murder of Marty Grisham. His conviction was secured with DNA analysis and testimony from CBI analyst Missy Woods, but it was tossed earlier this year as Woods was found to have manipulated data in hundreds of cases. Now Clark is being retried, and his new defense may include comparing his case to the John Benet Ramsey investigation.
They were grossly incompetent to investigate a murder.
John Benet's father, John, says the Boulder Police Department investigators in the 90s did a poor job in the early parts of the investigation into his daughter's killing.
They'd made up their mind that it was the parents, one of the parents, they didn't know which one. And that was it.
Boulder police investigator Thomas Trujillo was involved in both the investigation into Grisham's death in '94 and the Ramsey murder investigation in '96 and on. Trujillo would later be disciplined for misconduct, accused by the Boulder DA of being one of 5 officers not thoroughly investigating multiple assigned cases. Clark's legal team filed a handful of subpoenas Friday, including one asking for all records during the first 48 hours of the Ramsey investigation and any records that critique the Boulder PD's handling of it early on. What was your impression of Tom Trujillo?
Oh, I said he was a roadblock to our case ever being solved, period. He was refused help, refused information from the outside.
The goal of the subpoena, we've learned, is to show that investigative mistakes in the early parts of both cases have created a situation where both murders can't be solved.
I don't know anything about this other case, but I do know that the fundamental flaw in our case was the refusal to accept experienced help from the outside.
We were unsuccessful in getting in touch with the investigator, Tom Trujillo, tonight. He's retired. Boulder PD said it can't comment on the investigation because the Ramsey case is considered to be open.
A mother and her son didn't make it back from a hike at Echo Lake yesterday. They were found just hours ago. Earlier tonight, the Clear Creek County Sheriff's Office announced dozens of people were looking for the 60-year-old woman and her 25-year-old son. They were especially worried because snow was coming down and they were wearing just jeans and tennis shoes. But not long after they announced the pair was missing, deputies said they'd been found. They showed up at Evans Ranch on Upper Bear Creek Road just after 7 tonight.